Hello, and welcome to another episode of Millionaires Are Made. It's a show where we can believe that you can grow into a millionaire in all six aspects of health. That's right, we focus on your social health, spiritual health, your financial health, your physical health, mental health, and today we're going to focus on your intellectual health. Our topic is movies, how to improve your intellectual health with movies. If you've never seen Millionaires Are Made and this is your first time on the show, this is our show that believes that every person you meet knows something you don't, and that there's something to learn from everybody in this big, beautiful world. In the spirit of authenticity and to remove as much bias as possible, I don't even talk to or know who the guests are until about 30 minutes before the show, and we do not talk about our tips. So what you hear from them is going to be from their own life journeys and their own thoughts on how to improve intellectual health with movies. Audience, thank you so much. We love you. This is a very interactive show. Please ask your questions. Leave your comments in the chat. We do ask them live, and we will respond to them live as well. So if you have any questions on intellectual health and movies, go ahead and leave them, and we'll get them on air. If you have something that you want to share, which I know you do, we are always looking for more guests. Please feel free to sign up. The show link is being dropped below, www.millionairesaremade.com. Sign up, be a guest, come say hi. Same place if you also have a topic. Maybe you're struggling, going through a little something that you were having a little tough time, maybe don't know how to get through. We'd love to have you. We'll throw an entire show on you. We'll go find our own guests, and we'll have you have your topic be solved, hopefully, or at least have 3 little tips on how to get through it. If you love what we do, free information for everyone. I do love doing one-on-one coaching sessions. So if you want to sign up, they are free. We offer that. All I do is spend all day talking with experts. So if you want to take some of that information, feel free to sign up. That link's being dropped right now. And without further ado, we're going to bring out one of our favorite guests here. Her name is Jen, and we can't wait to hear what she has to say about intellectual health and movies. Jen, who are you?
I'm Jen Fredericks. I am a prosilience coach or proactive resilience coach, and I really like to support caregivers of patients with chronic illness and just make their days go a little more easily and relieve some of that suffering with tips and tricks and emotional respite. And that's what I do.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. All right, Jen, I've got an important question for you. If I wanted to improve my intellectual health with movies, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Have you ever watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
No.
With our friend Keanu Reeves, and I believe it was Alex Winter. But basically, they're 2 really kind of not with it high schoolers, and they need to pass high school so that they can go on to release the music that will help millions. And in order to do that, they're sent through time to go back and learn all they need to learn for their final history exam or something like that. So you can watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and you can learn about Socrates, as they call him, or Socrates. You can learn about Billy the Kid. You can learn about Napoleon and all of the wars. And then also it's really cool because you can see modern life through their eyes. So Socrates, Billy the Kid, because they bring them back in time to their current era, and they get to go experience, them all and see what modern life is after they've lived hundreds of years before Bill and Ted.
So essentially, it's kind of like a movie that helps explain history rather than just reading it in a book.
Yeah, and I mean, it's loosely, right? And I'm kind of joking with this, but the idea about intellectual health, right, is ways to like look at things differently and be creative and expand some of your knowledge. And so that was kind of my jokey joke, but for real, it could give you an insight into, what it could be like to learn about these historical figures. I would really suggest just going to history class. But that's my jokey joke. But my real thing is looking at movies as a way to expand your understanding And as we expand our understanding, we can also broaden our intellectual health because we aren't keeping ourselves in those boxes of thought that we tend to be in without going and looking at and being curious about how other people think and believe and live.
Awesome. Yeah. Well said. Well said. Yeah. So intellectual health in movies, I mean, obviously there's documentaries which try to find truth but still have bias. And then there's fiction where there's, essentially it's just a story. There's based on true stories. But I mean, a lot of it is you getting to live through the eyes of the director, right?
Yeah, exactly. And actually the two movies that truthfully I thought of when coming on this show were both directed by Christopher Nolan. And if you take a look at Christopher Nolan's breadth of work, he tends to really dive into some deep ideas and thoughts and themes of human experience. And so I really, the ones that came top of mind were Memento, of course. That one's, I think, back in the early 2000s. And then I really love Inception. And I still don't completely understand all of Inception. It's, I forget when that was released, but like Leonardo DiCaprio is in it and Tom Hardy and, that movie I think is super cool. And each one of those movies bring forth an idea of a truth that the director is working on and thinking about. So I have a tip, but I'm going to save it. But if I think about Memento and I think about Inception, I think about ways for us to step into someone else's shoes, like you said, and experience the world through a different perception or perspective and a different set of eyes. And especially Memento, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it was like the way that it was filmed, the cinematography, the story, the way that it's edited together. I found this really great description of it in Medium by Sean Platt, and he just describes it as this puzzle box of a film. It's jagged and disoriented. It's fragmented. It just leaves you wondering what's going on. And so you're actually like bringing to mind and using your intellect in order to figure out where you are at in the movie and where the character is at in the movie. And so I think that was really great because it helped us see and it helped us live in someone else's shoes, which actually can open us up to what is truth and what is reality. And it also reminded me of and it reminded me of an experiment my daughter did at a summer camp where she actually was put in a lab that had her experience life as someone with dementia. And, they were disoriented. The lights were off. They had like plastic spikes on their feet because sometimes people with dementia have that type of sensation all the time. So movies are a way, like you said, to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and understand the world in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's a great example. I like your Inception too, because Inception, if you really, he obviously Nolan has underlying themes, I believe, but it's definitely entertainment first, right? He's got big budgets, and he's got to make his money. But
even the Batman, the Batman trilogies too.
But I mean, the Batman, that's what I was first thinking of when you said Nolan. You've got mental health that he's kind of enlightening, even more when Joker came out, but you've got, alternate realities with Inception, the dream inside of a dream, and, possibilities of different universes or timelines and all that kind of crazy stuff that really makes you think. But obviously he provides it and portrays it in a fun and entertaining way to do it. But I don't think anyone actually knows what's happening on an Inception. I think that's... do the actors even know? We don't know. But I love when Cobb says two things that I noted that I wanted to bring up. One, an idea is like a virus, resilient and highly contagious. The smallest seed of an idea can grow. It can grow to define or destroy you. And then that I think really connects to something he says later on, which is they say we only use a fraction of our brain's true potential, which I mean, we all know to be true. And I think that's one reason why
we watch, shows like yours and read different things and talk to other people. But like that whole idea, like an idea is a virus. Even our own thoughts can be a virus and get in our head and keep us from doing things or push us forward. But I'm going to share my tip on that when we come back and talk a little later. But yeah.
All right, sounds good, Jen. This sounds like a good time to move on. We're going to bring Peter out here.
Hi.
Peter, question for you. Who are you?
Okay, so my name is Peter Banigo. I'm a part-time digital nomad. I used to be a serial entrepreneur in my former life. I have PTSD from that right now. Then for the last 6 years, my focus has been to help businesses use tech to gain an advantage over their competitors. And I do that through my business, Target ICT, through my podcast, the Tech Your Business podcast. So that's just the summary of me.
All right, good, quick little summary. It's hard to summarize yourself in 20 seconds. Huh? All right, Peter. Let's get to the nitty gritty. If I wanted to improve my intellectual health with movies, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
The funny thing is that I'm not really a movie person, but I think one thing about movies is that when I think back about it, after books, most of my worldview, most of the ideas I have about different places, about different things, were all shaped by movies I watched. So like when I was smaller, younger and all that. And thinking about the topic, I think a tip I would give is that the best way to discover a good movie, or let's say you're not watching the movie for entertainment, you want to learn from the movie, the best way to learn from that movie is something I do when I'm on the dates, which annoys everybody. I've not seen anyone else who does that or who likes it. I usually Google the movie. I usually read the plot. I usually check it out on Wikipedia before I watch the movie or while I'm watching the movie. And why do I do this? I do this because if a movie is good, if a movie is interesting, if you're going to be captivated by the plot, you'll be interested in it after reading the plot. The plot is like maybe a couple of lines. It's not it doesn't cover every move and every camera angle in the movie. So for me, I don't really miss anything. I don't really see that as a spoiler. I really enjoy movies after reading the plot. And that way, a lot of times I'm easily distracted. So a lot of the times, if I'm watching a movie and I'm waiting for suspense, it distracts me from what's actually happening. But if I've read the plots, I know what's going to happen. I know who's going to meet who is this and who is that. I'll usually just watch it, appreciate the camera angles, appreciate the quality of the shoots, appreciate the quality of the acting, and still learn more improve myself intellectually more than if I just got in and wanted to be hooked by the suspense. So I think that's one thing I do. That's one tip I have that's really helped when the few times I watch movies.
I love it. Yeah, it's always good to, it also lets you catch a little. Sometimes when you watch a good movie, you're like, man, I got to watch that again and see all the other things, because there's so much to a movie, right?
Everything I missed.
The story, the acting, all this stuff, and then the behind the scenes kind of stuff. But all right, hey, Peter, where on your life journey did you learn that tip? When did you start reading the plot before going in to watch the movie?
I think I learned that when Wikipedia came out. I'm a bit old, so when I was younger, when I started watching movies, there was no Wikipedia back then, so I had to be forced to watch everything. But I think growing up, I think maybe, I can't remember, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they started having the plots of most movies on Wikipedia, and I'll Google and I'll be like, oh yeah, this I can read from the movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, I actually enjoy the movie better than when I just go in and watch it. So I think since then, that's when it happened, when I started doing this.
Nice. Awesome. All right, Peter, we're going to move on to our next guest. We've got Bree in line waiting. Hey, Bree.
Hi.
Answer this. Who are you?
So I am a transformational and healing coach. I am a mom of two and married to my high school sweetheart. I do tarot, oracle, life coaching. So kind of do a little bit of everything. I'm also a caregiver.
Oh, wow. All right. All around.
Many
Well, let's see what you've got about this. If I wanted to improve my intellectual health with movies, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
to keep an open mind.
Ooh,
So
that's good. Tell me more.
yeah, that one for me, it's a little opposite of what Peter is saying. I used to read reviews and go in to watch a movie, and then pick what I wanted to watch based on a trailer or looking it up. And then I missed out on a lot of movies because I thought from the description of reading it that I wouldn't like it or I wouldn't learn something from it. And so I think there's a lot of movies that I probably still need to see. But to bring up one that I have two actually, but one that I've watched since I was little, when I was transitioning from that watching cartoons and Gullah Gullah Island to real movies. My Nana had a movie called The War that was out. And I was like, I don't want to watch a grown-up movie. And she said, I think you need to keep an open mind and watch it because it might surprise you. And that is my favorite movie to date. I watch it with my kids. I've watched it every year. It's just one of those movies that I think is so good and everyone needs to see it.
All right. So open mind, watch
Yeah.
a movie that's recommended to you, and just see if you like it. So
Yep,
you
and I
kind of
think
told her this. Maybe go ahead.
I think it's just like also engaging in that discussion because once you watch something, like you said, going back and watching again and kind of, I like to discuss with my husband what we watched after we watched it because he picks up perspectives that I didn't. So you get to
Yeah.
see both people when they watch it, what they got from the movie. And so a little clip I wanted to say from the movie, I don't want to like spoil the movie for anybody who hasn't watched it, but it's called The War and came out in 1994. But there's a boy named Stu, and they grew up in Mississippi in a poor town. He got in a fight with a kid, one of the Limp Nicky kids, and he, got the crud kicked out of him. And they were at the fair, and his dad had bought, which they didn't have any money back then. They're very poor. He was back from the Vietnam War. They had bought cotton candy with the last of their money for the mom and sister who couldn't come to the fair. And the kid got in a fight, and the dad ended up giving that cotton candy to the boy that beat up his son. And the son said, why would you give Ma and Lydia's cotton candy to the boy that just beat me up? And this dad said, because it looked like he hadn't gotten nothing for a long time. And that line has stayed with me my whole life because we never know what someone's going through.
That is very true. Very true. So
Yeah.
there's a great point to your intellectual health increasing by getting a line that's written, a little entertainment, but a lot of movies, especially nowadays, have a little extra to it. Maybe a little lesson, and it's like you took a good lesson from there, and it's been affecting your whole life. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, just that hurt people. And so sometimes a little bit of kindness goes a long way.
That's true. Very true. Awesome. Well, do you want to tell us a little bit more where you kind of told us about your history, but where else did you learn that info and how else has it helped you?
I've always been a really deep connection person. I'm an Aquarius, so I've never been put in a box. I love to learn about people. And so when you invited me on the show, I was like, I would love this because I love to hear everybody's perspective and take from what everybody has something to give. So even as a little kid, I wanted to listen to the adults' conversations because I was just so intrigued with stories they would tell and things that were happening. So that's just something I brought with me, that caring about people is a lot better than hurting people. And so even when we're in a bad mood or angry, we can turn someone's life around just by a smile. So that's just something I bring with me. And if I got in a bad mood, I go out of my way to try to compliment somebody or try to turn their day around because I know the huge impact that it brings.
That's so true. So true. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Bree. We're going to bring everyone out now, and we'll go over some audience. Post your questions now if you'd like, or we'll go over each other's tips as well. So let's start off with Jen. Jen, can you super, super fast refresh what your tip was?
Right. So in Inception, one of the key quotes is, an idea is like a virus, resilient and highly contagious. So my tip would be to always ask, is that true? And is that true for who? Is that true for you? Like, not everything is a universal truth. So is that true? Remember
Almost
that
nothing
things
is
are not as
universal.
they seem. Remember that things are not as they seem. They're how we see them. What'd you say about universal?
I said almost nothing is a universal truth.
Right.
That's
But
a whole nother
a
story.
lot of us go through life believing that they are universal truths.
Right. All right. Hey, Peter, what are your thoughts on Jen's tip?
Yeah, I think I agree with her because there's one thing people say. People say try and be normal or be normal, and I always say that there's nothing like normal. There's just different. Everybody deviates in a different way, and at different times in history, in different environments, in different cultures, they have their own definition of normal. So that normal might be different from your own normal or what is comfortable to you as your normal. So I'll just say, be yourself. Don't stress anyone else out.
That's a good point. Good point. Bree, what are your thoughts on Jen's tip?
I 100% agree with that. So, like the saying of be yourself unapologetically. So, find your truth, find what you believe in, and don't let anybody alter that because ultimately you are the most important person.
Very true. All right, so we got a little something from the audience. I'm going to reflect a little bit. So back in my college days, my best friend then was a big movie buff, and his thing was always make sure you watch the credits because there's so many people in a movie that you never know. You know, like 3 of the actors, maybe you know the director. So every time we went to the Tuesday night 50-cent matinee, we'd have to sit there for like an extra 15 minutes and watch all the credits. What are you guys' thoughts on the people who help support the movie outside of the actors and the directors?
So important. It's a cohesive unit, and it can't be brought to fruition without everyone's playing together. I have a degree in theater, and being on stage, I mean, you see everything that goes on behind the stage, even above the stage in the rigging for the lights and the mics and the props and the actors. The actors are one small piece of it, and they're the ones who are bringing it to life, the words off of the page for everyone. So it's super important to recognize everything that goes into a movie or a play or any of those types of things.
All right, question from the audience. What's your favorite genre?
Oh, science fiction, dystopian science fiction.
All right, science fiction.
I'll say
dystopian.
not horror movies. My husband and daughter will watch horror movies all the time, and I'll go into another room and read or something. I can't do the jump scares, but it just brings my anxiety level up too high. So I'll say not my favorite genre, horror.
I'm kind of with
All
Jen.
right.
I'm no horror movies. Maybe like the dramatic, suspenseful movies. I like documentaries a lot. So,
I mean, I could watch Hope Floats over and over again. So I guess I kind of like a rom-com, but then I also like the Inception and some of the ones that bring like a deeper meaning and is thought-provoking. But sometimes you just need to watch an Adam Sandler movie.
Which is deep and thought-provoking.
It can be. Like, it's too hot out here for a damn penguin.
Yeah. I'm a big fan, like Peter, of future dystopian movies too. Oh, here we go. We got a question. What genre of films do you think are best for intellectual growth?
I think you can take a little bit from all the genres, honestly, because I recently watched I hate horror movies. I don't do it, but my daughter insisted that we had to watch the movie Tarot that just came out because I do tarot and oracle. And so I actually took a deep meaning out of that movie rather than it was a scary movie. So, and then that was something we were able to discuss of what I took out of the movie was about a woman whose child was killed and taken from her. And so that hurt she brought on to others. Whereas my daughter saw it as a horror movie, and she's 12, by the way. So we were able to discuss that where I took a deeper meaning out of that movie. So I think there's a little bit to learn about every genre of movie.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I even think if you maybe take some time with the characters.
True.
Yes. I mean, speaking of horror films, with favorite movies is The Purge. And the deeper meaning is literally all about society and what possibilities there are. I mean, talk about intellectual, you know, do you save your family? Do you save a random man? Do you do this, do that? What are your consequences? That entire movie, The Purge, is filled with some of the toughest questions that family may have ever had to answer in their life throughout that hour and a half of sheer terror.
That is a good
I
one.
think that's what I like about the dystopian movies too, because unlike the movies where they are shot on our present reality, those ones are shot maybe on an alternate reality, on things that are not there. So they really make me think, oh wow, this can happen, this might happen, what was the possibility, how possible can this be for us to go from where we are to whatever is showing up here. So I think they make me think a lot. So I think that helps.
I agree with that, Peter. I like the thought of, oh man, what couple of things could happen that would push us into what we're doing now. All right, what's your favorite? All right, what are your guys' top 3 movies as of right now?
Oh gosh.
I think the audience is asking you, though. I think you should answer first. Let's see.
Okay, I'll answer first. So one of my all-time favorites is Garden State, and it's one of the movies that I think is the funniest movie out there. And every time I watch it, I catch something new. And I also especially on intellectual health, I think it explains a little bit of mental health and the difficulty of relationships and death and grief. And I think it has a lot of that all in one little movie with a bunch of little funny scenes in between. So big fan of the Garden State. Good job, Zach Braff. Purge is a really good one too, because I do like horror films, but I also like the kind of dystopian, the possibility, and I like the difficult thought. I mean, you could talk intellectually about The Purge after watching it for hours on the difficult choices there. You know, my daughter's life versus these 5 people's life versus, oh my gosh, treating your neighbor right. I mean, you can go into so many topics of discussion there. Another good one is Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind. I thought that was a really good play on the difficulty of modern life in general. And it was kind of a cool dystopian option as well. So I guess I lean towards that as well, pretty well as well, Peter. What are you guys' favorites? When do you take over?
I really like Dogma. I forget who the directors are, but that's a great one. Like any of the one, like Mallrats, Dogma, those types of kind of comedies. I also really enjoy Spanglish, which is a great movie that Adam Sandler is in. So I get a little bit of Adam Sandler with a little more, content or deeper meaning. And then I usually don't like a lot of action films, but during COVID, my family and I ended up watching all of the Marvel movies, like in order. I think I'm saying the right universe. I think it's the Marvel universe and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like I really love that movie. I think that one was fun because I love the music, I love the humor, but I also love the mission that they were on. So.
All right, I agree. All right, guys, we are at the point in our show where we need to come up with our daily challenge. So this is something that we all are going to challenge ourselves as well as our audience to do every day. The rules: it must take less than 5 minutes a day. It must cost $0. It must be available to anyone in the world from Japan to Nigeria. And it must be something that improves our intellectual health with movies. What are your thoughts for that challenge?
I think definitely, like how I said, being open-minded. I think maybe we could give some suggestions of movies that we all haven't seen and try to make a plan to watch at least one movie or maybe 3 movies that we have never seen. And then maybe engage in discussion about them with friends, family online.
Yeah, I'm thinking that I just thought of that. I think
probably a movie in a genre that you would never watch.
Yeah.
Or what about if taking a little twist on that for, those who may not have access to movies, if you just ask other people if they learned something about a movie that they wanted to share. I am totally down with trying to watch 3 movies a week. I'll do that. But maybe for those who don't have that access, we could, they could just instead say, hey, person on the train next to me, what's your favorite movie and why?
That engaging in discussion, yeah.
Yeah, we could make this easy and super fun. So we all have at least 3 or 4 favorite movies. So there's 7 days in a week. So we could make, I guess you really could talk about themes, an actor, maybe a director. So it's the problem I have with talking to a stranger, like on a bus or whatever, is that they may not know that actor or they may not be a movie buff. But I do like the idea. Maybe we just ask someone else, ask a stranger, or screw it. You can ask your friends and family what their top 3 movies are. So we start learning other people's movies and then asking them why for each one and making them describe it. That should take less than 5 minutes. What's your top 3 movies and why? How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah.
And then
I'd like to just bring up the whole thing too of like being in awareness, right? Let's stay in awareness when people are sharing this information, kind of like you were saying, Bree, and you were saying too, Peter, about keeping open mind and learning new things. So when they share this, be open-minded about it, and then you can ask yourself, hey, is that true for me?
And also depending on the person, if it's a random person on the street, maybe you don't care much about their opinion and go watch the video. But if it's like your partner or your mom and you're like, oh, I haven't seen that movie, that's one of your favorites, and you're like, shit, and then you go watch it, and now you can connect with your mother as well too, or whoever recommended that to you. I love ask someone about their 3 favorite movies and why. I think that's actually really cool. Any other thoughts to add to it?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty to the point, easy for all of us to do.
Yeah, I think that's simple. Everyone's seen movies. Everyone can watch it. Awesome. All right, well, we got our daily challenge in. Thank you guys for everything. We're going to wrap up this show real quick. I'm going to put you guys backstage. Movie sayings. I know you wanted a challenge for 3 movies in a week, but that's more than 5 minutes a day. Just wanted to thank you all for watching Millionaires Are Made. This concludes our show. We got 3 awesome guests, 3 awesome tips, intellectual health and movies, and how people always say, why wasting your life away with TV, movies, and that stuff. But really, someone creates it. It's art. There's people that do a lot of things that go into it, from sound to audio, those are the same thing, to visuals and costume design, all sorts of stuff. Hope you learned a little bit something. Our challenge is to spend every day, ask 3 people about their favorite movies and why. That's the key thing. Let's learn. Let's grow.